Hello, my friend.
What's up? Hold on. There
Oh,
you go.
oh,
What's up? How you doing?
oh, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm very glad to see you. It's good that we can record interviews from almost anywhere in the world. I'm from Ukraine. You are from USA. I appreciate it. It's a really good time. Let's enjoy this interview. You can say whatever you think. It's a good time.
What's up? Appreciate you for having me.
Let me introduce you to our esteemed audience. Today, I'm joined by one of the most exciting young, unbeaten prospects in professional boxing, Dimitri Grover. He has already started his pro journey with two victories, including a win over Jose Rodriguez in his debut and another impressive victory over William Charles Fonseca. On July 11th, he will step into the ring for his third professional fight as he continues building his name in the sport. While Dimitri may not have a long list of amateur titles, his experience is unique. He has shared the gym with world-class fighters such as James Toney, Robert Guerrero, and Joshua Buatsi. In fact, former world champion Robert Guerrero trusted Dimitri enough to pay him to spar fighters from his own stable. Dimitri, welcome to my YouTube channel, Boxing on Sundays.
What's up? How y'all doing? Yeah.
What was your childhood like, and what kind of kid were you growing up?
I had a good childhood. I was born in Denver, Colorado, and I moved to the Bay when I was about 8 years old. I was raised most of my life out here in the Bay Area, San Francisco area, Alameda, California. And as a kid, I was a very active kid, so I always was, playing sports. I was playing football, ran track as a kid. I did a lot of just different sports, but boxing was the one that kind of like I kind of stuck to a lot more than than the other sports. It's something I had a passion for, and yeah, that's why I kept taking it super far, like to this day. So
A lot of fighters discover boxing in different ways. Some walk into a gym by accident, while others are inspired by family members of boxing legends. I'm curious how your journey began. How did you first discover boxing?
my dad was a jiu-jitsu black belt. Um, he was always a big fan of combat sports, and he used to train with the national team, the judo national team, and uh, he was a training partner for a lot of them. So he always wanted to get me into combat sports, help me defend myself, and I used to kind of get bullied as a kid. So my dad always was like, "I want you to be able to defend yourself." So he tried to get me in jujitsu and judo, but I didn't really like jujitsu or judo. So he said, "You know what? Let's try it and do boxing." And I picked up boxing. I loved boxing ever since. It's kind of like something that I kind of gravitated toward a lot more than jiu-jitsu or MMA or grappling. Because my dad came from that type of background. He was very good at grappling, and that's something that he was very passionate about. But that's not something I was really passionate about. So.
The first day in a boxing gym is something many fighters never forget. It can be intimidating, exciting, or even life-changing. Take us back to that moment. What do you remember about your very first boxing training session? Tell me please about your first training session.
My first day in the boxing gym, I was nervous, man. I was kind of scared. I We went to this boxing gym in Colorado. I forget the name of it, but he was in this boxing gym in Colorado, and I wanted it. I wanted to prove myself. So we were doing a run, so we were doing like a mile run every day. So I always try and beat everybody in the runs, and beat everybody doing the bleacher exercises and stuff like that. So I always wanted to prove myself ever since I was a kid, and that's kind of and I always just loved the grind. So, but I was always super nervous seeing people spar and stuff, and I was like, man, could I really do that? But I always wanted to do some like sparring or training. So once we got into the groove, we started sparring and stuff like that. And obviously, first I was kind of getting beat up, and then I just kept going, 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 and obviously I got really, really good. So um, yeah,
I look at your technique and admire it. You are a very talented boxer. Your technique is amazing. But every boxer has someone who first believed in them. Coaches often see potential before the fighter even realizes it themselves. Who was your first boxing coach? And what was the most important lesson he taught you? Tell me please about your first boxing coach.
my first boxing coach was named Alfredo, and he taught me the basics of boxing, how to jump rope, speed bag, and hit the mitts and stuff like that. But and he was a good boxing coach, but he was super focused on a lot of other fighters that he had. He had guys that were going to nationals and training really, really hard. So I me and my dad, we started really doing it because my dad was really adamant about me really uh me really getting into the sport and really competing. I wanted to compete, and a lot of coaches I was with didn't really see me competing. They didn't think I wanted to really compete. So um, me and my dad kind of took the competition part more seriously.
For many people, boxing is just a hobby to begin with. Self-defense is something else. And only then you become a matter of life. When did you realize boxing was becoming a serious part of your life?
Became a serious part of my life. Um, more towards when I was in high school, when I started training amateur, uh, and started fighting amateur. I started um, people started to get know who I was, a lot more. And because I go to the gym, I spar like a bunch of people in the gym, and like I'll be the last to get out the ring. I usually be the first person in the gym, last one out. It'll be late at night, so that's how people started to kind of get to know my name. Then I started going around to the shows, like local amateur shows, and fighting in them, and people were like, "Oh my god, like who is this kid?" Like this kid kind of came out of nowhere, because my dad wasn't no big amateur coach. Like my dad never boxed, so I didn't really know who my dad really was. So we had went and just just kept grinding, 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 and especially now we're here, and taking it seriously in the pros.
Tell me please about your amateur career. Everyone knows you as a promising pro, but it's interesting to hear about the early stage. What did your amateur career teach you that still helps you today as professional?
My amateur career kind of taught me to stay composed. I had a hard amateur, so I had 11 wins and 7 losses. Um, and I was fighting some of the best in the state, so I would always fight guys that were like they came from a really good camp, and guys that they had world championship coaches, and guys that they they were a kid. They were in the nationals as kids. They're training with uh, you know, contenders and stuff like that. I didn't have that, so and a lot of people didn't really want to fight me in the amateurs. They could kind of like they kind of like picked and choose their opponents. I didn't really pick and choose my opponents. I kind of was like, I'll fight anybody. It's for the experience. Um, so my amateur career kind of taught me how to maneuver in boxing, how to take a loss, how to take wins, and not get too full of myself when I take a win, or I get a loss, and while I get a win, and not get too down on myself when I take a loss. Come back even better than ever. So
Do you remember your very first amateur fight? How nervous were you?
I was crazy nervous in my first amateur fight. I was really nervous. I was super nervous, man. I was scared. But then I had won it, man. I wanted to win so bad. I still remember it was like I didn't have no boxing shorts, so I came in just like regular Nike shorts. Um, didn't have like no like competition tank top. I didn't have like a uniform like that. So I was boxing in some Nike shoes, like just regular track shoes, and and a messy looking tank top and some Nike shorts. And I went in there and fought, and I beat the guy eventually. So
What is the biggest lesson you learned from amateur boxing?
the biggest lesson I learned from amateur boxing, probably a lot of guys that are good at, not everybody that's a good amateur is a good pro, and not every good pro was a good amateur. There are a lot of guys that had losing records, you know, and in the amateurs, and they went and they did really good in the pros. And then you got some guys that were really great amateurs, and they lost their first two fights they fought, or they start having crazy records like they're 0-13, and that's one thing that I see now a lot of times. Some of these prospects, they go and they fight a guy that's like a nobody, but this guy could actually fight. Then the guy ends up beating them in the pros. It's a different game. So
Without defeats, there are no victories. Each of us has painful defeats that make us stronger. I remember how Floyd Mayweather Jr. lost his semi-final of the Olympic Games to Bulgarian Serafim Todorov. Tell me please about your most painful defeat that made you stronger.
um, I don't know. I feel like all my defeats were really hard. Like I took them really hard, but I guess one of the more painful defeats, I guess, was I had fought off like my first defeat. My first defeat was my like most painful because I felt like I thought I won it, like, and I was really mad about it. I wasn't actually super mad about it. My dad was really mad about it. He like I wanted to win so bad, but when I lost, I was like, man, I just lost. So it kind of hurt, but um, it wasn't horrible. I feel like a lot of the defeats that I felt really bad about were outside the ring. They were never inside the ring. Um, I was always, because I was always going through things when I was fighting. So, like the hard things that I was dealing with were always outside the ring.
At what point did you start believing you could become a professional boxer?
Um, I was 18. I had just turned 18, and I had just I was fighting the Golden Gloves, and I fought this guy. He was 30. He was like 30 years old. I was still in high school, his like family came, his kids came, and I was super nervous. I was like, he had tattoos, everything, like full beard. I'm like, man, I'm fighting him, but I went in there and I stopped him in the second. No, the third. I stopped him in the third, and like I couldn't. And everybody came and they were like, "Oh my God, that was crazy!" Duh. That's when I really started to really believe, cause I always believed in myself, but I was always nervous. I was like, man, I don't know. Maybe what if I don't make it? What if I'm like spinning my wheels? But I always had that kind of. I kind of had a blind faith, like this is gonna work out. I'm gonna make this work out. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna do something with my life.
Wow, your story is very interesting. You are very charismatic. And then it will be even more interesting. Not many young fighters get the chance to be around a legend like James Toney. Unbelievable reflex. Just being in that environment is an education. What was your first impression of James Toney?
Oh man, James Toney came in the gym. It didn't feel real, bro. I didn't. I thought I was like, it's kind of like I felt like I was dreaming. I was like, what the heck? This is real, because Tommy, there's a coach named Tommy Senior, and he hit me up. He was like, hey, James Toney's coming to this gym. You want to spar in front of him? I was like, yeah. I thought he wasn't even gonna come. I thought they were lying. I was just there to get the work. But he actually came. He came straight from the airport to the gym to watch us spar, and I was sparring in front of him. And he was a funny dude. He came up to my dad. He was like, man, your son's good. Your son's good. I was like, no way. I thought he was probably gonna be like, this kid's a bum or something like that. You always see those kind of clips where he be going in on people, but nah, man. James Toney was a cool dude, and he told me he was like, man, you got talent, you just don't waste it. And I couldn't believe it. It was one of them crazy eye opening moments.
Oh, when he was in the prime, it was impossible to hit him. No one could. Unbelievable reflex, head movement. Expect for Roy Jones, but Roy Jones is an alien. James Toney is famous for his defense. What is the most valuable boxing lesson you learned from James Toney?
I'm gonna keep that secret. I can't let that secret out. But he definitely put me on to some tricks and tips that I still use. So
What made James Toney different from other fighters you have been around?
um he was down to earth. He's a very down to earth person. He was very respectful. He had if he seen that you're working hard and you're a good fighter, um he he'd acknowledge it. Not every not every fighter sees that you're a good fighter and acknowledges the fact that you're a good fighter. He was in there and he's like, you're a good fighter. You could fight. You could box. You know, and that's what James Toney did, and I respect him for that because he didn't have to do that.
James Toney had a tremendous experience. Sometimes the best lessons come outside the ring. Did James Toney ever give you advice about life or boxing that stuck with you?
Yeah, she just told me to stay away from the clubs and start eat healthy. You know what I'm saying? Stay in shape. That's those are the most important things he told me. Don't sabotage your career because he's like you sabotage your career like that. You don't want to sabotage your career.
What did being around James Toney teach you about becoming a champion?
it taught me it it taught me that a lot of these champions that I kind of met, you know, they were kind of like some of them were full of themselves, but James Toney taught me that a lot of champions could be humble. Like these guys that they've been to the top. He's still coming and teaching the younger generation and showing support to the younger generation. I want to see the younger generation shine. And so that's that's what he taught me. He's like always support the guys that are up and coming, and that's what I respect about him.
Robert Guerrero is a former world champion respected across boxing. I very respect him. How did you first meet Robert Guerrero?
So I met Robert through Ruben Guerrero. So one day I was at the gym and I got invited to spar this guy named Justin Cardona, and I didn't know who he was. I was like, who's this Justin guy? They said he was a pro. I didn't know what type of record he had, but at the time he was 9-1 or 10-1. No, he was 9-1, and I sparred him, and I was like, man, this guy's good. How come I never heard of him? Like, um, so I sparred him. I kept sparring him. They started asking me to come and spar him more, you know. And Ruben was like, "Hey, listen, come to my gym. You can spar at our gym. We'll pay you." I'm like, "What? You'll pay me to spar him? Yeah, for sure. I'll come and spar him." And ever since then, we was just sparring. And then, Robert has a son, Robert Guerrero Jr. that he trained. So he was in Vegas with Robert Jr. and Robert Jr. ended up breaking his hand, and he came back to the Bay, and that's why I met Robert Guerrero in person. And Robert Guerrero had seen me spar Justin, and it was a pretty cool experience. And he was like, "Man, you're good. You could fight. You got power in your hands and stuff like that." I was like, it was really cool seeing that because he was also one of them types of people that wasn't like crazy Hollywood or nothing, and respected the work that I put into boxing. So
You mentioned that Robert Guerrero paid you to spar fighters he trains. That's a
yeah,
huge signal of trust. How did that opportunity come about?
uh, like I said, I was sparring I got invited to spar at a gym called Dreamland, and I was actually sparring somebody else, and he had jumped in. Justin, he had jumped in to spar, and they had liked the work that I kind of gave Justin. And then I came a second time, probably like later that week. They're like, "Hey, you need to come again, like to the gym, uh, and spar him again." I went and sparred him again. They're like, "Oh my God, this is good work." After the sparring, people was like clapping. They were like, "Yeah, that was crazy." Da da da. Like, man, that was like entertainment. So that's how I eventually started just going up there regularly. I was going on there on a weekly basis. I got Justin ready for like a big fight. He fought on a Caleb Plant undercard, and um, he also fought on another card. And I got him ready for those two fights. I got him ready for two camps, and it was good. It was good work. I was happy they gave me the opportunity and they paid me. So
Sparring high-level fighters can be harder than actual fights. What did you learn while working with Robert Guerrero's fighters?
shoot, I learned I learned a lot. I learned how the business worked a lot of the time because Robert and Ruben were just always telling me the stories about the champions that they had trained. Um, but also just learned like how close I was to a high level, seeing how close I was to a high level, how I could improve on certain things that I was working on, and just how how uh, how much I had to grow and how much I already had grown. So
A world champion sees boxing differently than most people. What boxing knowledge did Robert Guerrero share with you that you still use today? Tell me please about this knowledge.
he had uh he had taught me something about weight cutting. And I was like, that's pretty interesting because he was telling me it's like talking about telling me about water loading and what he does for water loading. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. I never heard anybody talk about water loading like that. Um, how he cut the water weight. So I thought I still use that to that day to this day. Yeah.
Respect in boxing must be earned. How much confidence did it give you knowing Robert Guerrero trusted your abilities?
It gave me a good amount of confidence. I always I never sat there and was kind of like never try to be cocky about it, but because um I always want to keep growing. I always got so much more to learn. I'm young in the sport, so I got so much more to experience, um, and I got so much more to to try and learn more. Like I need to learn more. I need to experience a little bit more in the sport. So
By the way, do you know our Ukrainian boxer Alexander Khizhniak?
Kuzniak,
Yeah,
the Olympian, yeah.
Olympic champion
Mhm.
2024, silver champion in Tokyo. Joshua Buatsi beat him in amateurs. Joshua Buatsi is one of the most respected light heavyweight fighters in the world today.
Mhm.
He beats Khizhniak. What was it like sharing the gym with Joshua Buatsi?
Josh was a cool dude. I I never sparred with him because he was pretty big, but I was in a training camp with him um, at Virgil Hunter's gym, and I was sparring all the time. I was in the gym with him all the time, so I used to be able to talk to him and ask him what he how he was doing, how he ate, and it was kind of cool because he was not he was a cool dude and he was respectful. He wanted you know he always was like he always was talking, and it was cool. It was cool kind of seeing the championship level, what people were at the championship level, what the championship level required, what type of work ethic the championship level produced. And so it was cool to see that up close and personal, you know. You don't really get to see that all the time, especially like an active world champion.
Training alongside elite fighters often reveals the difference between good and great. Joshua Buatsi uh, is a former interim world champion WBO. What impressed you most about Joshua Buatsi work ethic?
He was always in shape, you know. When he came into camp, it wasn't like he was like fat or nothing. He didn't look very sluggish. He was in shape every time he came in for a camp. He was he was just tightening up screws and tightening up his technique and just more working on things, kind of honing certain tools, when he came into training camp. So that was cool to see. I like seeing that. I like seeing how hard he worked. Even after sparring, he'd go. How he usually spars is usually spars 6 rounds with one person, and then he starts 6 rounds with another person. And so he'd go spar 6 rounds, and then he'd go spar another 6 rounds, and then he'd go straight to the bag. Like after sparring, go straight to the bag, throwing hard, or he'd go straight to the tire, uh, hitting the hammer with the tire, uh, go straight for a run. Like he like he could work. He worked really hard. So that's one thing I definitely respect about Joshua Buatsi.
Every champion has strengths that stand out immediately. What part of Joshua Buatsi game impressed you the most? Maybe power?
Um, he's not a puncher, but he could box. I think his boxing ability was what kind of impressed me a lot. He's kind of quick. He's quick. Um he could throw a lot of punches from certain angles. It was pretty cool watching him spar, seeing what level certain people were at.
Watching top level fighters prepare can be eye opening. What did you learn from observing Joshua Buatsi in training camp?
Shoot. I learned from. I learned what kind of what it took to be a champion. What type of work ethic it took. He's a guy that's like he doesn't really party. He doesn't really smoke like that. He doesn't like he stays in the gym a lot. He's in shape a lot. So that's the championship mentality. That's what I kind of got from him.
We talked for a long time about a possible fight between Dimitri Bivol and Joshua Buatsi, but unfortunately, Buatsi lost to Callum Smith and lost the title of interim world champion. Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Smith. Um, your thoughts on this fight? What was missing for Joshua Buatsi to win, in your
Uh,
opinion?
uh, I think I think Callum Smith kind of just edged it out. I think if Joshua was kind of like um doing a little bit more fame, staying a little bit more active, uh, like invest into the body a little bit more, I think he probably would have won. But Callum Smith kind of stayed in there. It was pretty competitive, but Callum Smith just kind of edged it out. So, but he'll be back. He'll be back in the gym. So.
What do you think about Buatsi's chin? I think it's very strong chin.
He got a good chin. He could take a punch. I seen him in the gym with some hard punchers. I seen him spar Amari Jones, and for y'all who don't know who Amari Jones is, he's not a prospect no more. He's a contender, a middleweight contender. So I seen him spar Amari. I seen him spar a guy named Joshua James, and he got like he could definitely take a punch. Like guys like Amari and Joe Sean are they're punchers. They could really hurt you. And Joe Sean, he takes punches well.
Sometimes sharing a gym can inspire bigger dreams. Did training around Joshua Buatsi motivate you to raise your own standards?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I felt like I already had high standards, but it just made me um hone in a little bit more. Like Uh, I never really, I don't drink. I never drank. I never smoked. So, like, but I was just like, I need to train a little bit harder. Sometimes I push myself a little bit harder in training, because I knew what that championship mentality would do. Not everybody has a championship mentality, and even if you do, you still got to go up against another person that has that championship mentality eventually. So pushing myself to the limit in training is kind of what did it for me. I was like, I need to push myself more. Maybe I'm not pushing myself enough.
Every fighter has a moment when they realize they belong in the sport. Confidence isn't given, it's earned. You are very, very talented boxer. You have a great talent. When did you first feel that you had real talent for boxing?
I first felt I had real talent for boxing. I explored. I'm not gonna say his name, but I explored a guy that was on the top rank, and this guy he was like, I didn't like I got beat up, but I was 13 or I was probably like 14 or 15, still in high school. I was like a sophomore in high school, and he had beat me up. I had like 6 amateur fights, and he was like, "Man, you're tough, bro. Like I couldn't, bro. You didn't stop. Like he was tired. He was like, man, you didn't stop." I was like, ooh, I might got it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then I kept sparring certain guys, because as a kid, I didn't really spar kids my own age. I sparred guys that were 30, 26, in the mid 20s, early 30s, early 20s, guys that were knocking people out, in fights. So that putting people like I sparred guys that were putting people on stretchers and stuff like that. So and I was still in high school, just still like trying to grind. I was coming home from the gym like at 9 o'clock at night. I still gotta do my homework. Like I go to sleep. I'm waking up at like 6 in the morning doing my homework. But just kind of staying consistent and stuff like that. You know, that's how I knew I could kind of be somebody, and then I started. Robert Guerrero paid me, and James Toney, and that paid attention to me. He started following me, and I still talk to James Toney. I still talk to his kids and stuff like that. So that's why I was like, oh, I might got something. This is something that's serious.
Everyone has dark times. It's terrible. I don't know. Not enough money, no opponents, the girl left, or something else. Did you ever think about quitting boxing and what kept you going?
Oh yeah, I definitely had thought about quitting boxing a couple times. I there's a couple times I always was kind of going through things outside the ring. So like I had a lot of people in my life that were passing away. Guys that were like kids I grew up with, and they were getting killed in the streets. And I had, my aunt had passed away, and she died of cancer. And those are times where I was like, man, I'm like my life is falling apart. Like I can't keep like I was like, man, how am I gonna keep going? But I was like, the gym, you gotta stay in the gym, focus on the gym, and that's kind of what kept me going. Staying in the gym and focusing on the gym is is what kept me going through those hard times.
You are very well done that you didn't give up. You have an unbreakable character. I respect you. Every boxer dreams about making the jump to the professional ranks. It's a huge moment in a fighter's life. When did you decide it was time to become a professional boxer?
I mean, we after I started sparring, I was training with Robert Guerrero and Justin. Uh, I felt like I was ready, you know, because I was when I was sparring Justin. Ruben will always tell me, "Man, when you gonna go pro? You should just go pro already. You should just do it. Like, go ahead, go pro." And I was like, I don't know, maybe I want to have a couple more amateur fights. And every time I see him, hey, you gonna be fucking those guys up. That's how you be saying, go be fucking those guys up, man. Go pro already. Go do it. And me and my dad, you know, we came to the decision. We're like, you know what? We're tired of amateurs. People was kind of backing out. People was coming in overweight. People wasn't like fights were falling through. And I was like, man, let's go ahead and go pro. You know, and we had went and did, and you know, we're still doing it right now.
By the way, how were the negotiations on signing a contract with promoters? Tell us
And the
about your
negotiation
promoters.
promoters were cool. It was some solid contracts, and we just went and did our thing, sold our tickets, and just kept working. You know.
The first professional fight is completely different from amateur boxing. The atmosphere, the pressure, the expectations, everything changed. What emotions did you feel before your professional debut?
I was nervous just about I didn't want my opponent to come overweight. I didn't want my opponent to drop out. That was the scariest part because like I had a couple friends where their opponents dropped out like last second and they couldn't fight no more and they already sold tickets. Um, those are the things I was scared of, you know, at most. But I was, you know, I was super nervous coming out the dressing room for my first pro fight, you know, because the guy I was fighting, I had just turned 20, and the guy I was fighting, he was 30, he already had 3 fights, and I was like, I was like, but you know, I'm ready. I sparred a lot of guys in camp, guys that was, guys that were nationally ranked, guys that were killers. You know, I sparred killers in the camp. So I was like, you know, I'm ready for whatever this guy throws at me.
Every debut victory has a special place in a fighter's heart. What do you remember most about your win over Jose Rodriguez?
Um, I just remember the crowd. Like the crowd was just like super loud, and I was like, man, this is crazy. Like it's not the amateurs. Like if you're fighting somebody, the crowd is usually silent. Even if like you're beating them up, crowd usually goes silent. You know, but amateur it was that's one thing I do remember, and I remember coming home, going to sleep, and my grandmother calling me and being like, "Man, I'm so proud of you." That's one thing I definitely remember. That's like a uh, that's like a core memory I'm gonna take with me.
After winning your first professional fight is a dream come true for many fighters. How did you celebrate your first professional victory?
I went and got some food. I was hella hungry. I went and just got some food. I got some. I think I got sushi, and then I just went home because we had lived. We my fight was like 3 hours away from where I live, so we had went and got some food, came home. Then I was in the gym on Monday, so I took like a 2 day break. You know, because in the pros they give you like a mandatory 2 days that you have to take off. So that gave me I had a 2 day break and then I just came straight back to the gym. I was ready to be in shape. I was really trying to stay in shape, stay active. So
And after your debut victory, expectations naturally become higher. How much confidence did that first win give you going into your second fight?
it gave me some confidence because the guy was pretty big, but I was able to beat him. He was big and he was strong. He's experienced. He had been in camps with guys like Eric Priest, and he was a paid sparring partner for guys like Guido Schramm. Guys that elite guys that train with Joel Diaz and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I know he's coming to fight. This guy was coming to fight. But after that win, I was like, you know what? I need to show the world that I could step up to the plate and I could really beat somebody and beat a high level person. So that's why I went and fought um, William Fonseca, and that's why I took on the challenge. A lot of people were telling me like, "Yo, this might mess up your career. Like, you fight this guy who's 4-0 because the guy at the time, William Fonseca was 4-0, undefeated. It was his hometown, and I was like, I gotta do it. I could beat him. I know I could beat him. I gotta take a chance on myself. So I went in there and I beat him. I was so felt really good. Felt really good. But it was just back to it again, just back to training. You know.
Absolutely. You are right. This is just the beginning. The main thing is that the promoters work well, and you hard work, and you work hard. You are very hard working, and your second professional victory showed that the debut wasn't a fluke. Looking back at your fight against William Charles Fonseca, what are you most proud of?
I'm just proud that I got the win. I stayed on him. He was definitely a good boxer. He could box. He had boxing ability. And he's coming to take it really seriously. He's taking this fight super seriously. Um, but um, I'm just glad I got the win. I was glad that I did it in the fashion that I did it in. I came in and I really showed my level. I came in and I showed my level. That's what I'm most proud of, showing my level, knowing, showing that I could come and upset a prospect in his hometown. Not a lot of people could go on national television. Not a lot of people could say that they did that, and that's what I did. So
Fans always want to know what kind of fighter they are watching. It's very interesting. How would you describe your boxing style to someone who has never seen you fight?
I say I'm an exciting fighter. I'm a person that I'm trying to come and get you, and I keep a pretty high pace. A solidly high pace, and um, I'm here for the entertainment. I'm here to entertain and show that I could be at the world championship level. So I'll describe my style as a very pressure heavy kind of style. You know.
Every fighter has strengths that make them dangerous. You are dangerous boxer. What do you consider the strongest part of your game right now? Maybe speed, defense, footwork.
Mm. I would say my the strongest part of my game for real is probably my setups. I have solid setups. I throw I throw awkward punches, but you know it's just to set up certain things, and so that's I feel like that's a strong part of my game.
Great fighters are always looking to improve. What part of your boxing are you currently working hardest to improve?
One thing I'm trying to improve on is I'm trying to say stuff without saying too much. Um, I'd say one part of I'm trying to work on is just hurting people a little bit more. You know, taking more, uh, giving more punishment to somebody. You know, that's what I'm working on. Having them take a lot more punishment, hurting people a lot more. That's that's what I'm working on.
The next chapter of your career arrives on July 11. How has training camp been going for your upcoming fight?
Training camp has been good. Just been sparring, training, staying consistent. Um, you know, we just we're just it's just right back to it. You know, it's another day in the office. So
Preparation is everything in boxing. What has been the main focus of this training camp?
uh, the main focus of this training camp is just improving on my cardio and improving on just my fitness. You know, stuff like that. Working on certain things with that. Uh, Working on my strength a little bit more.
Wow, yes, it's very important conditioning.
Yeah.
Every fight is an opportunity to make a statement. What kind of performance are you hoping to deliver on July 11?
To be honest, I'm just trying to show. I want to show the world just who I am. You know, I want to go in there, be myself, and fight and have a good performance. That's all I'm really looking for, uh, and just have be me, do my thing, and step out that ring safe and sound. Have my opponent step out the ring safe and sound. You know, I want, I want us both to leave the ring like we came in. So no lasting physical damage or nothing. I want to have a good fight. I want to put on a good fight, do my thing. You know, step out, get back to training. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Do you feel any extra pressure to keep your unbeaten record intact?
No, I don't really feel any extra pressure. To be honest, I just want to challenge myself. I think I'm better than a lot of people give me credit for, um, and I'm stronger than a lot of people give me credit for. So um, I proved that when I beat William Fonseca. So I say I don't want to lose, but I want to prove that I'm the best. And sometimes when you prove when you're the best, there are risks that comes with that. There are risks that come along with that. So if I lose, I lose. But I want to show I don't want to lose. But if I lose, I lose. You know, I went in there and I tried. So I feel like that's more important than just having a crazy winning record and not taking no risks.
Because you are mentally strong. Mental strength is just as important as physical strength. How do you prepare mentally before a fight?
Sticking to the game plan. It's never about you know, it's not about going there and feeling confident. It's not about going in there and having to psych yourself up. It's about going in there and doing the things that you do in practice and performing them well. So that's how I kind of view every fight. I don't view every fight as like I gotta psych myself up. No, do what we did in practice, and everything will come together.
Success in boxing often comes down to discipline. Yes, you are very talented, but at the same time, you are very disciplined boxer. What does a typical training day look like for Dimitri Grover?
Usually I usually wake up at like 5 or 6. If I wake up late, I probably wake up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. and I go for a run. I usually go for a 5 mile run, come home, wash up, go to sleep, wake up again, do another workout. I usually do a strength conditioning workout in the afternoons. I come home, go to sleep. I'll do it in my third workout. I usually do a training session like with mitts and pads and stuff like that. So that's a usual day for me.
You are incredible. How strict are you with your diet during training camp?
To be honest, I'm pretty strict with my diet in general. But uh, I say I'm pretty strict during training camp. There's a lot of things I don't eat. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat fast food even outside of training camp. So I don't eat fast food. I don't drink soda. Uh, I don't I don't eat chips. I don't eat like crazy snacks or nothing like that. It's probably it. Like I don't eat a lot of processed stuff.
Is weight racing the hardest thing in the camp?
We say?
Weight racing.
Yeah, weight cutting. That's pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the weight cut is usually the worst part of camp. That's the hardest thing. That's usually like the hardest part. Hardest part is usually just the weight cut. That's like half the battle. It's not. The hard part for me is never the training. It's never training. It's just about cutting weight. Staying in the sauna, running with the sauna suit on. That's the part. That's the part that gets me the most. But it feels good when you make weight and you're able to eat again. So
And fans love getting to know fighters beyond the ring. What kind of music do you listen to before workouts or fights?
I don't know. I listen to all types of stuff. I like Madlib a lot. I like Madlib. I like I got all types of stuff on my playlist. I listen to the Jacka. I like the Jacka a lot. That's why I walked out to him. So I listen to Jacka, E40, Too Short, and I probably listen to Mini Ripperton. I don't know. I listen to all types of things. All types of rap. I like Lil Dill. That's something I'll be bumping a lot. Some Lil Dill and Lil Baby, all that. So all my playlist is kind of like all over the place. But
Tell me, what song do you go to the ring? How did you choose her?
my last walkout song,
Yeah,
man, I chose my last walkout song. You know, cause I thought I was like, man, that's gonna be a crazy walkout song. I feel like people are gonna go crazy over this one. So I chose that one. I was like the Jacka, Glamorous Lifestyle. I'm like, ooh, that's gonna be a hit. Like I think people are gonna like that. I told my friend, I'm like, yo, I gotta do that. He was like, bro, you gotta do it, bro. Go ahead and do it. And so that's why we walked out the Glamorous Lifestyle.
what do you enjoy doing when you are not training?
I like going for walks. I like be chilling. I like chilling. I like going to the coffee shop. I like reading. I like hanging out with my friends, just like, chopping it up, going to the movies, you know, um, shoot, like watching anime. Like I just be chilling, to be honest. I don't be doing a lot of stuff. Just I love it. I really like reading though. That's one of my like main hobbies.
Every fighter has people behind the scenes who help them succeed. Who has been the biggest supporter of your boxing career?
Probably my dad. My dad, he's kind of been through all the ups and downs. He's seen the beginning. He's seen now. He's seen how I'm doing today and how I was doing before. Like just he's seen everything. He's seen every step. So that's probably one of my biggest supporters, you know, in boxing.
Every fighter has goals that push them forward. What are the biggest goals you want to achieve over the next 2 years?
I want to first of all, I want to try and get to I want to get to 10 fights. I want to get at least 10. I want to get to at least 10 fights. I want to stay active. I want to I want to be a little bit bigger than I am now. I want to be in spaces to where people hit me up and they're like, "Hey, we got this fight. It's for 15,000. You want to take it?" And I'm fighting good fighters. I want to be able to go and get into title contention. Those are my goals over the next 2 to 3 years. Just getting my name out there, having not just being on the local scene, but being on the world stage, being on the world scene. So
The boxing world is full of talented young fighters. Obviously, in the United States, are there any rising prospects you enjoy watching right now?
I like watching Najee Lopez. I like watching him. He's a good fighter. There's a couple more. I don't really think about this a lot. Rising prospects. I like Malachi Ross. I like watching him. He could fight. Demazian Van Outer. I like watching him fight. He's a strong fighter. And I like watching him in the heavyweight division. He's young too. He's like we're almost the same age. He's like a little bit older than me. I like watching him. He's a strong fighter. Um, yeah. They're not really prospects though, more like that. I like watching Joshua James. That's somebody I've been in the gym with. Uh, I like watching Sugarcane Sandoval. You know, uh, who else? Sheree Makhmutovich. I like watching him. It's even in the gym. He's an entertaining fighter watching the gym. So yeah, those are some of the guys I like to watch.
Before we move into the final section of the interview, I want to ask a question that every boxing fan is probably thinking about. You are undefeated, improving with every fight and training alongside elite names in the sport. Why do you believe boxing fans should keep a close eye on Dimitri Grover's journey?
I think I think boxing fans should keep a close eye on me because I'm a young talented fighter. I'm very hungry. I want to be the best. You know, and one thing about a lot of these fighters, they don't really want to be the best. They don't want to fight the best opposition. They don't want to. If somebody has an undefeated record, they're scared to fight them. They don't want to take a risk. But I'm willing to take a risk, and I showed that with my last fight. I fought a 4-0 guy in his hometown, and I beat him. And a lot of guys, when they're not even doing that, not going to another person's hometown and beating them. They're not fighting. They're not fighting. They're not willing to take a risk on national television and fight another undefeated fighter. No, I did. So that just shows the level of hunger that I have for sport and the level of dedication I have for the sport. And that's why I think boxing fans should tune in and watch me fighting.
Dimitri, before we finish, I want to thank you once again for taking the time to join me today. It has been a pleasure hearing your story, learning about your journey, and getting a better understanding of the person behind the gloves. You are still at the beginning of your professional career, but you are already shared the gym with champions, earned the respect of top fighters, and started your pro journey undefeated. I'm sure this is only the start of something much bigger. And my final question is this. Imagine a young boxer watches this interview tonight and decides to start boxing tomorrow because of your story. What is the one piece of advice you would want that young fighter to remember for the rest of their life?
Rest of their life.
Philosophy
Um,
question.
that's a hard question. There's a lot of advice I give for just now, but for the rest of your life, um, everything's a season. You're gonna have ups and downs, whether you do boxing or not. You're gonna always have ups and downs in your life. And so when you're at the top and when you're going up, just sit there and enjoy it. And when you're going down, just know that it's not gonna last forever. And that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think a lot of times, especially in my career, I was like, oh my God, when is there gonna be light at the end of the tunnel? Because I was working so hard, and I was like, man, I can't see it, but I just kept pushing. And I finally found the light at the end of the tunnel. So, find you're gonna just keep pushing, working hard, staying consistent in the gym, and just working, just staying in shape. Being a hard worker will get you pretty far.
Wise advice. Thank you, Dimitri, and good luck in your fight on July 11. We
All
look
right,
forward to following your journey on my YouTube channel, Boxing on Sundays. You will win.
all right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Bye.